At 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome any and all public visitors and ask if anybody would like to make a public comment unrelated to our agenda items, please do so now. I'm sorry?
I remember you.
Yeah, just press, yeah,
There you go.
It's so people can hear it over
On Zoom.
On Zoom.
All right, Jason Duback. Do I need to backtrack or do you remember me from the last meeting?
We thought it was resolved last meeting.
It's not resolved.
Well, unless it was resolved by us, Jason.
I've had a permit this entire
I can't
time.
hear you.
Is this thing not working?
No, you speak up. We need you to speak.
I've had a permit this entire time
Why didn't you show it to us?
because I tried to be put on the agenda several occasions and I was denied 3 times for last meeting. And I went to see your town manager asking to be put on the agenda on 8/22 after the meeting. I was denied because after my last performance, I will never be put on the agenda. At that point, I filed the request for a copy of the database of signs applying to restaurants not in the historic district. And I received a response of the requested public records do not exist. So I've had a permit this entire time. So you do have a rogue employee.
Where is your permit?
It's right here.
So we've gone through all of this and you had the permit the whole time.
I didn't know I had the permit until I read all of your rules, which you're very important on sticking by the
We
rules.
have to do it.
Okay. And until I was so frustrated coming up the chain of command and being ignored the entire time, being treated like a violator. And like I was lying to you. I told you time and time again, I did all the right things. I went through Mr. Tuller.
Show us the permit.
Here it is. I prefer you not copy it with our bank records being on it, but here it is. Yeah, I don't want to threaten the board. It's the last thing I want to do.
Thank you, Bob. Sign application. Yeah, okay.
That is my permit. If you look at your rules, when you file for a permit with the planning and zoning administrator, they put the P at the public notice up, you pay them and they're supposed to get you the permit back. And
Right.
they never did. It was never denied. It never went to DVR. That's my permit,
Well, not your permit.
her permit.
That's correct.
But I own the trailer, so it's kind of my permit. And I'm the guy who dealt with Mike Tuller the entire time. Now, you do have a rogue employee with Miss Roberts because she knew about this and choose to ignore it.
How'd you know about it? You show the store?
It's right in front of you.
Did you show the store?
No, I just found that the night after the meeting. So frustrated, I went through every single piece of paper for the business in the last 5 years.
Okay.
She was aware of it before she started her enforcement.
I don't.
I want you to-
That's true. No more, no more. We're at the end right now.
No, it's true.
We're at the end right now.
It's true.
We will investigate to see the legitimacy of this and whether or not a permit had been issued. It should have triggered a permit being issued should the application be filed and accepted the way it was.
Even if it was denied, there would be a record of denial and it would have had to go to DVR.
And that's what we'll have to look at.
Okay.
We don't have running.
I need that back because I don't trust you with our personal banking
Oh,
information,
please,
sir.
please. Jesus. All right. Jason, it's over. It's done. Let us look into it and we'll get back to you on that.
You missed something very important on this
What's that?
piece of paper. It was written on 4/29/21.
I saw that.
Okay. When was it cashed, sir?
I have no idea. I can't tell.
It was cashed on 10/26/22.
All right.
Miss Roberts called us in October of 22 and said, I found this check and I wanted to know if I could deposit it. And the reply was, sure, because that's what it's there for. So she took the payment. She took the payment. Last time I was here, I asked you to take responsibility for your employees and everything. And you said you wouldn't, sir. This has caused us an immense amount of stress and pressure, more so than the pandemic. You know why? Because the pandemic was fair for food service. This was totally unfair. I went up the chain of command the right way. I have the permit. You're wrong, and you've been wrong this
didn't
entire
have the
time.
material to show that you have the permit. Okay, you still don't.
I-
I still don't see a permit.
According to your rules, I have a permit.
Still don't see a permit.
After
That's
the
what's
permit
required.
application is in place and paid, that you have 30 days to deny it, refer it to DVR.
Right.
By the 31st day, it's valid. This is the permit. Your employees don't keep any records whatsoever, and you're double stepping with your Gestapo
You gotta
tactics.
change. No, it's not. Stuff.
Absolutely.
Well,
You've caused division with us and our landlord over your unprofessionalism here.
All right, Jason, we've had enough. Okay, time to go. Let us look into it. We'll report back to you. How's that?
Good luck in covering this up, sir. I have a permit I had the whole time. You should have apologized. So should you.
You have no permit. It
I
is
have
not in
a
your
permit.
name. It is not in your name.
She has a permit.
That's what you should say. Yes.
Okay, she has a permit. I'm the one who dealt with Mike Teller. I'm the one who redid the site. This is grossly unfair, unsupportive of local business, and you ought to be embarrassed of yourselves, all of you. I gave you information. I laid out a police report, pictures before and after. Nobody even viewed anything. Because you're all sitting there on your high horse looking down at me as I'm the violator, I'm the bad guy.
No, you're
If
not
you
the
kept,
applicant. You're
if
not
you
the
kept
applicant.
any records
You're
whatsoever,
not the applicant. Okay? Period. End of conversation.
You-
You're not.
you
the
found a way to manipulate the situation to get away from responsibility of it.
applicant. It's over. Okay? All right. Let us look into it. We'll report back.
It's not
That's where we're
over,
at.
sir.
Well, then you can take it to court.
You should
Do whatever you want to
apologize.
do.
You should apologize for your unprofessional actions.
I'm going to ask you to leave now.
I'll be happy to leave.
Leave.
Have a great night.
Good night.
And I was right the entire time. Thank you.
According to you. Yeah.
I was.
Sure. Good night. Good night. Good night. All right. Huh? I wasn't watching Mike Teller do his job. That's for sure. Okay. All right. Hey, folks, we're going to approve the minutes of August 20th,
I have
2024.
a possible change.
Oh, I'm sorry. Possible change?
So under number 6, we added the select board to possibly approve an expenditure increase to Reed Trucking from $105,853.94 to $134,986.32 from the highway equipment capital for the highway truck rebuild, and Marshall will be here.
We have that. The what? It's in here, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we updated, I'm sorry, yes, we updated the
Updated. Okay.
original. Yes, it's a rebuild of a truck that increased in price for highway.
It's on the agenda already. I updated it before the meeting. No.
This was updated, so
I
from
try to
the
update
original,
it so you can see what's happening.
from the original, yes. And now you can. There you go. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. We ready? All right. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Approve the minutes of August 20th, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Scott?
Under action items, the select board to possibly approve a 10% matching fund of the Memorial Hall Flood Mitigation Grant in the amount of $13,915.50. Originally, you had already promised the 10%. Of course, 10% will come out of the capital fund. And the idea of that is that it not be federal funds. So what has happened is the federal funding for this project, remember, this is the flood gate project and establishing I don't want to say nailing the infrastructure to the ground, I guess. The federal award is $125,239.50. That is 90% of the total approved project cost of $139,155. And the 10% match is $13,915.50. That'll come out of the Memorial Hall Capital Fund.
Okay. Questions, folks?
Yes, I have a question. Is this the beginning of the process or the end of the process?
Oh, no, this is the beginning.
Okay.
We've been at this
You're
since,
requesting permission to go forward as written.
I've given you the actual dollar amount because you've
Okay.
given me permission before. So I just need you to authorize the 10% match. And I'm hoping, yes, to move along.
On the off chance nobody else has questions, I'll make a motion.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve a 10% matching fund for Memorial Hall flood mitigation grant in the amount of $13,915.50 from Memorial Hall Capital Fund. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries, Scott.
The select board to approve the submission of the MERP grant and authorize the town manager to execute. Bob Boyce is here to explain.
I think I just murked myself here.
Chair of the Energy Committee.
Did you burp yourself or burp yourself?
Well,
So that what you have in front of you are cards from the elementary school for the thanking the select board for giving them money for their.
Well
Playground.
deserved. Well deserved. Thank you, gentlemen, people. I'm here in front of you to ask for the approval of the MERP grant, MERP standing for Municipal Energy Resiliency Program Grant, application for the total of $474,748.88. The 88 cents being very important for energy efficiency projects at 5 town buildings. I believe you have the list of the locations and projects in your documents for the meeting. This is a competitive competitive program. It's a non-match program. There's no match from the town. The town is in good position to receive the money because of a couple of factors that it meets the high criteria for the grant award. The town have been identified as a high energy burden community, and most of the project, if not all the projects, are weatherization and heating efficiency improvements that will save the town money in the long run. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
So the Wyndham Regional Commission
Right.
has actually been assisting, and they put the grant together, and they're ready to push the button with
Yeah.
your blessing.
It's been a wonderful, the commission is a wonderful resource, and they offered to help, and we didn't hesitate to say yes.
And no matching funds.
None.
That's
That's
music to
amazing.
our ears, you know that, so.
Yeah.
Providing he gets the amount he wants.
I don't know, maybe we'll have to make up the 88 cents. I'm not sure.
That's
Round
a
off
killer.
the dollars. That's 12 cents. We may have to.
The cents thing on all of these grants just is an absolute ridiculous thing to do. Anyway, okay. So anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Where are the 5 buildings identified?
Okay, in priority
Please.
of spending. The first time is this building right here is number
Okay.
1 priority. Second priority is a library. Third priority is a memorial building. Fourth priority is the old firehouse. Fifth priority is the town garage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the new town garage?
No, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it is. There's,
Or the one over there?
yes,
All the town garages? Got it.
that's why it's sort of low on the priority.
I was gonna say, it's long gone.
Hard to keep up.
Jessica
Could
Roberts has
could
a-
you
Thank you.
imagine taking the old one and calling it a public safety building? Mother of God. I mean, OSHA wasn't real happy with the last one. So.
Jessica
Thank you.
Roberts has her hands up.
But where's she?
Oh,
Oh, Jessica, go ahead.
Hi, Select Board, this is the one we've been working on for about 1.5 years, and you gave us the priority about 1 year ago when we did the second phase, which was the audits. I just want to correct the third priority is the old firehouse. Fourth priority is Memorial Hall, and then the fifth priority is Town Garage.
Oh, okay. So just reversed.
We don't run out of money.
Okay, all right.
Her decision. I'm not going to argue with it.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're married too, huh?
I go along with it.
Easy.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, gentlemen, or ladies?
I have a question. Why is it changed that the old firehouse building has the former Memorial Hall?
Jessica?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
The question is, why was there a change in the priority between the memorial building and the Memorial Hall and the
Old firehouse.
firehouse?
That wasn't a change. That was the priority that the select board agreed to before the audit, which was probably a year ago, when we had to set the priorities to get the audit grant, which was the second phase. This is now the third phase of this whole process. But the select board set that priority about a year ago, and that was the firehouse was the third.
Yeah,
Memorial Hall was the fourth.
yeah, if I may add, I mean, there's nothing cast in stone here. The priorities are ours to make. If we submit them as a priority, we still have flexibility in changing buildings, whether we move the old firehouse behind Memorial Hall or not. It may warrant a further discussion, but presently this is,
I think that was before the heat pumps were installed. So
yeah.
all that, if we can get the first two done, like this is probably the most important building, then we can reassess, I think.
Okay. Any other questions? Would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the submission of the MERP grant and authorize the town manager to execute.
Do we have a second?
Application.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the submission of the MERP grant and authorize the town manager to execute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Bob,
Thank you,
tell
Bob.
them to
Thank
push the
you.
button. If you're ready. Yep.
We're ready to go.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right.
Bytown.
Good Lord.
The select board to receive an update from Tim Dolan on the Bytown marketing plan, and Gretchen is also here.
Stack some of those up if they're in your way, Tim.
Thank
Cards and letters.
Cute.
All right, thanks for having us. Sorry, Gretchen, you can start.
No, you can. Go ahead.
I was just trying to kill time while
Right.
I get my presentation up. There we go. All right, and so I know we did distribute this presentation to you guys ahead of time. I did make a couple of edits only because this was previously made for the Bytown committee update a few weeks ago, and I wanted to give you real-time numbers. So there's just a couple of changes in here. But so far, you know, we'll start with Google Ads. We increased our budget this year, partly due to the budgeting process that we went through with you guys last fall. We added $1,600, and then we also found some savings and some other projects that we completed this year. And so we took an additional $2,400. So we're up about $4,000 from what we were spending last year, and it's really paid off. We've got really great results so far. Kind of in the mid-June, actually mid-July, sorry, we increased up to $80 a month, a day. And so you can see that upward trend as it continues on. And then we saw the fall foliage continuing at the $80 a day, but that has really jumped in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, you know, overall, we've got almost over 450,000 people that have seen our ads on Google, and then, you know, almost 27,000 that have clicked in. Out of that 27,000, there was 2,800 just in the last 3 weeks on the fall foliage tracker. So about 10% of our entire year has come just in the last few weeks, just for people looking for that fall foliage. So that's been a great result. And, you know, hopefully that'll start translating into people coming up and seeing the leaves change. So as far as our campaign for this year, you know, like we talked about last budgeting period, we wanted to reevaluate who we're using to buy our ads and to create them. So we went through an RFP process this past winter as we were getting ready for the summer ad campaign. And we had 23 submissions, narrowed it down a couple of times, interviewed the top 3, and they were all great choices. But ultimately, we went with Trampoline Design, which is who we were working with in the past. So got a lot of great response from the RFP, and it just kind of solidified to us that we were heading in the right direction with that trampoline company. But a couple of things that stood out with them was, first, they offered us fixed pricing for 3 years with just a cost of living increase. So there won't be that chasing, game of like, what should we expect this year? We know what we're going to expect for the next couple of years with them. And then they also presented the idea of doing multiple taglines, which was important to us. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But the one thing that we weren't able to accomplish through that RFP process was geofencing. We had talked about that last year, where we were hoping to track the people that saw our ads and then actually came into town. Through the RFP process, we found out from some of these agencies that privacy policies had changed, and it was possible. It wasn't really feasible with our budget. It was going to cost way more than what would have been relevant. We would have been in the $25,000 to $30,000 range just to get these results on an $80,000 media buy. It didn't make sense to spend a third just to try out something new about tracking, when we felt that the money was better spent saving it and continuing to look at new ideas. So that was the only piece that we had presented last year, and unfortunately we weren't able to accomplish.
And we're banking that those for next year.
Correct, yep.
Tim, can I just ask, so the geofencing sounded, I think, really intriguing to me, and I think members of the board. Is there a way of seeing whether, when somebody clicks on a particular site, whether their intention is likely or very likely to actually follow through? I mean, is that possible?
There isn't really a way that you can,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Booyah, who's the media buyer that works with Trampoline, they started tracking our 30-second time on the website. So that's going to start showing us more results of how many of those clicks onto the website and stayed for a longer time. So that can be an indicator of, those people are more interested. Same thing, similar to that, they're also now tracking the number of other pages that are visited. So, the number of people that just clicked in once versus the people that got there and said, ooh, well, let's look into lodging, or let's look into what other activities they have. So those are a couple of indicators that we're starting to track now. We'll have more data, at the end of the campaign about that. But definitely we were disappointed too, but again, we just didn't want to spend more than what we felt was reasonable with the overall media buy spend. But we are continuing to look at new ways. We want to be able to track the efforts that we're putting in. So but we didn't spend that money, like Gretchen said, and like I said, we're continuing to kind of look at new ideas.
And we have a new way of and I think it's in here about collecting emails.
Yep, that's a part of our campaign as well, is collecting emails now as well. So that's just another way that we can then gauge the interest of the people that are getting onto the website.
Emails from where?
It brings up a pop-up ad. So when people are directed to the website, it brings up, after they're on the site for 10 seconds, brings up a little thing. Hey, do you want to sign up for our newsletter? And so, again, that could be an indication of how much people are, interested in actually coming to us. So, and we've made some changes in that process. So that's been a little bit of a learning curve, but we found in the last few weeks, we dangled out Wine and Harvest as kind of a raffle with that email sign up. And we more than quadrupled the number of emails that we've gotten the rest of the summer. Great. So something that, we can take forward is, just putting that little something out there for people, give them more incentive to sign up for the email piece. So taglines, like I said, Trampoline, what really intrigued us was that they said, well, why just settle on one when we can collect data and try 2 and see what resonates the best with people. So they came up with 6 total ideas that we were able to narrow down to our top 2 based on the studies that we had done in the past through the 5-year plan, as well as the brand work and kind of what direction we wanted to head. And so Where Vermonting Begins was one, and Less Journey, More Destination was the other. So for the first couple of phases, we ran both ad sets. So, here's young adults in Meta for phase 1 with Less Journey, More Destination. And they took the same exact photos, same layout. So we're really comparing apples to apples, but just with that other tagline and being able to see what resonates with people. Phase 2 started in mid-June, and we really had collected data, but it was kind of neck and neck still at that point between the 2 taglines. So again, here are just examples of Where Vermonting Begins, as well as Less Journey, More Destination, looking very similar, just with those different taglines. And throughout that phase 2, we did start to see a lot of data pointing us towards Where Vermonting Begins. So the Less Journey, More Destination had a lot fewer. The orange bars are people clicking onto the landing page. So in our family, it was almost double the people that were going on Where Vermonting Begins, and young adults, definitely significantly more people getting to the website, as well as the green dots are the cost for those landing page views. So we were much more efficient at $1.24 versus $1.56 and $1.16 versus $1.71. So to us, this said, we now have the data we were looking for, and Where Vermonting Begins is what is resonating with people and getting them to our website. Let's put our eggs in that basket. And so from that point on, we just ran the Where Vermonting Begins. So for phase 3, we moved over and just used that tagline. Phase 3 was great because the disc golf and this picture of the lake of the tubing were a part of our photo shoot that we did in June. They were able to rush us a couple of new photos. So that was great to get some new assets in there. And then in phase 4, again, continued with the Where Vermonting Begins, but changed it up a little bit to give it really a fall feel, and with those fall colors in the bottom. We also did TikTok Reels. So there was one for phase 3 as well as for phase 4 that both had brand new footage out of our, sorry, it's a little laggy coming through my Wi-Fi, I think. But this is all brand new footage that was taken in our June photo shoot, which I'll show you a little bit more of in a second. So that was great to have new footage, and TikTok and Instagram have done really well for us. So the numbers, this is the part that I updated just for you guys. I did this today. So this is through yesterday as part of the campaign. So compared to last year, I think it was like September 20th that I was comparing again. So a couple days off, but really close. We're down a little bit in impressions. So the number of people that saw the ads, we're down about 8%. However, the people that saw it are clicking into the webpage. We're up almost 70% in the people out of that 19 million that saw it. We're seeing a lot more, 47,000 versus it was about 28,000 at this time last year. So a lot more people getting to the webpage. So I keep saying, while not quite as many people are seeing the ads, it's close, but we're getting more of the right people in front of the right people that are actually interested in coming and, showing that interest by getting onto the website. So goes hand in hand with it. The percentage of clicks to the impressions went up considerably. And that means also that the cost that it took to get somebody onto the webpage went down considerably as we get more and more people. So, and I will say this is even better results than what I shared with Dover 3 weeks ago. We were up around 14% down at that point. So we're closing the gap on impressions, and we were only up about 60% on the landing page views at that time. So our fall campaign, that stuff I just showed you with the fall colors, is really taken off already and helping close those gaps. But really, really successful so far with all our analytics. So we did do a June photo shoot, had one long day because we were worried about weather. So what was supposed to be a 2-day shoot, we went into 14 hours of photography across Dover and Wilmington, Horace Hill, the Valley Trail in Dover, then came downtown, did some stuff at the Wilmington Inn for some dining, and then went on the lake with Jet Ski Vermont. So, you know, huge thanks to them and Wilmington Inn for helping us out. But we were able to get really, really great photography of some of the new area in Dover, showing off some of the recreation opportunities that they have over there, as well as some dining, you know, that people can enjoy outdoors here when they're visiting. And then also, you know, we wanted to really focus this time around on things that made Wilmington and Dover unique. And so instead of just getting photos of people in a downtown area, we tried picking things that would stand out. And when they drive through town, they go, ooh, there's that bridge that we saw in that, you know, that ad, or there's the little park, you know, next to the river. So we did focus on some of that stuff. And then again, went out on the lake to get some great photo shots out there. So just a quick update on everything else we've been working on. We hired a part-time social media content creator with some grant money, as well as part of our budget. So that's been going really well. We're up about 18% in our followers on Instagram and Facebook right now, just from being able to post every day. So that's been great. We put a new trifold in the visitors center down here in Wilmington, as well as in Guilford. And that's going extremely well. I got a notification a couple days ago that they're running out. And last year we had some left, and I printed the same amount. So that's been getting picked up a lot more in those welcome centers, Guilford specifically. We also had a new resident mixer in June, and we'll have another one coming up in a few months. That was part of a GROW grant that we received from the state. So hoping to entice new people to come here. We've got some new webcams that we're just working on some locations throughout the valley. So we'll have those coming real soon. That'll help give people a kind of that live view, you know, whether it's winter season and they want to see how much snow we got, or fall, you know, what are the leaves looking like? They'll be able to see a live update all the time with those webcams. We already touched on the email addresses, but that, you know, has been a little bit of a learning curve, like I said, but I think having that carrot out there is going to be important for us going forward. And then we just finished up, we sent out a video to all the businesses in both towns, focusing on that new resident program that we got the grant for, the GROW grant, as well as the social media, and trying to get more followers on there. So we had 19 businesses partake and showed it to all their employees. So all in all, about 120 different employees in the two towns saw our video and are now better ambassadors for new people that want to come and live here. That was a ton. Does anybody have any questions for me? No?
The ad and marketing program that you put together, Where Vermonting Begins.
Yep.
Did you copyright that or anything?
We haven't copyrighted it yet, but it's something we'll consider. You know, we were kind of.
It's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and I hate to see everybody in the state using it. Like so many other things we've seen come up over time, where all of a sudden it belongs to the world.
Yeah, we can definitely look into it. I know some other people are using Vermonting, so we weren't first to use that term, but the Where Vermonting Begins, we're the only one using. So, you know, it was something we felt would work, and you know, the data, I love data, and you know, it helped us make that decision. So I'll look into the copyright piece, because I think that's valuable, knowing that that's the one we want to go with going forward.
Yeah, because the state always wants our website. Is it Vermont.com? We're slow on that.
And the state, I'm sure, is just piling the money on us too right now, too, to help us out, right?
Why do we go purple?
I don't know.
All right.
Well, I'm glad that Where Vermonting Begins is the one that came out, because I thought last journey and more destination, starting with less, was a negative connotation when you first look at it. And I think even though it's more destination, but I feel like from that, you know, meeting in June or whenever we did that, like I'm glad that that's the one, because it feels
Great.
more
You
positive.
don't think it would apply to Marlboro?
Yes, it would apply to Marlboro.
Okay, all right. It's quite good. It's very catchy, and it's First time any of us have ever seen this.
Good.
Okay,
Like,
Thank you.
I do like it. And
Good.
for me to like something like this, you
Oh,
know
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right?
cake.
It's kind of like we've morphed into Christmas already.
Right.
Huh? There you go. There you go.
No, the personal feelings, you know, you always take those into consideration with an ad campaign, but everyone's always going to have different ideas. And that's where the data is so, you know, valuable to us. And we were really thankful that Trampoline offered, you know, to go that extra step and create two different taglines for us so that we could see what was going to work.
I think you
They
can
did
also-
well. They did well.
I think you can also look at how well your campaign is going also by just, you know, the 1% fund that comes to us. Like there are other things to look at when you know, how many people are in hotels and inns and, you know, like that's easier than spending $30,000 looking at that.
Right.
Well, it's important, I think, getting people to come is.
Well, with
Better-
the advent
better
of the
spent.
legalization of marijuana, you notice how many new things come up here.
And we are taking a look at 1% and, you know, how we can kind of use that to our advantage. So more to come when we come back for
Did you
budget
get my
time.
breakdown?
Thanks.
I don't think I saw a breakdown.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I will check and make sure that you guys get it tomorrow. I take the, meals rooms.
No, you did. You
Yeah,
did
you
send
sent
us
us
that.
that.
Yes, you did. You did send us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
I didn't
deleted
see it.
yours, I'm sure.
With
I-
the 1% money on a different tab in an Excel
Okay.
worksheet.
Yeah.
And so that is
Send it to us on September 6th.
interesting information.
Well, it was
Like,
interesting, very interesting.
It's really hard to gauge, you never know.
But we've
And
been
it's
asking,
hard-
we've been asking for information like that for years and they haven't given it to us, so.
No, they won't break it down. any further.
They won't break it
Yeah.
down.
And it's not terribly helpful.
And then, you know, like when I do it from the sales and, you know, like from the website on the quarterlies, you only really get those every, you know, 2 times a year.
Oh.
And so you're already halfway through a year before you actually get the information from the first quarter.
And you can
I
get,
don't know.
retail is tough because of all the online stuff.
Mhm.
That's the hard one.
I will say, 'cause in the research that we've been doing, again, we'll share more when we come back in a few months, but we're not alone. Like I looked at the data from all of the towns that receive 1%, and they're in similar boats where it's all over the place, up and down,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So it's not just Wilmington or Dover, it's everybody that receives 1% that do have kind of
It's
those
watching,
highs and
watching all the
lows.
stores in the parking lots here and, weekends, of course, are always good. And the boats, we watch the boats go.
Votes.
But I mean, it's be interesting to look at it year to year instead of quarter to quarter, because of course, we're so dependent on the weather and what is,
That's-
fall, foliage, winter
a
skiing, like it's
spreadsheet,
not a
spreadsheet.
normal, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Mine is year
but-
over year, and
yeah.
then I do quarterlies of the current year and the previous year. Yeah, check your email.
I will check my email. September 6th.
All right, anything else for us?
That's it, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Great job.
Next on your list is the select board to possibly approve a 1% request from the Bytown Housing Committee for housing support in the Deerfield Valley in the amount of $5,000, and Gretchen is staying with you.
Yeah. So we had put out, so we're finding that it's really challenging. And first of all, when we first started Bytown Housing, M&T Bank gave us like $3,000, I think, just for like funds to get things started. And so we have gone through those funds. And now, that we have a website, we have to keep that updated. There's some materials that we should be, providing to landlords, and, getting together a landlord group, I think is really important, especially when we're doing, the ADU program. These homeowners are first-time renters, and they might not know the ins and outs the nuances of being a landlord and how can we assist them in being better landlords, kind of thing. So, we kind of want to do something maybe at Valley Craft Ale and provide pizzas and continue those like on a quarterly basis. So there's, advertising, we do have space on our website where landlord could post available apartments. And then we could also put, people who are seeking housing on that website as well. So we're working on those pieces. So we need some funding. Dover did contribute $5,000 at their last meeting. And so I'm asking for 5,000. We did go to Mount Snow with a request and we were denied.
You have someone in place there?
This was, no, they do not have somebody in place there as of yet. But we do have somebody on staff, Dan Thamoki, who comes to our housing meetings. And so we put it in through him. And unfortunately, it didn't work. I mean, feel bad for him. It didn't work out. So we were asking for $2,500.
How big is your committee right now?
So we are.
I mean, it show up.
That show up, probably six to seven.
Right. And so they're working basically on the general leasing of the property here at this point. It's not, we're not looking at the STRs any longer, or are we?
No.
Right. The only reason I'm saying that, I'm noticing the STRs in the state are kind of in the wane right now. Yes, a lot are reverting back to annual rentals, only because there's nothing consistent any longer. In fact, there's a saturation point, I think, that they've hit, which I think we all expected that at some point.
Right.
Now, again, whether it holds very long, I don't know.
Tim, have you looked at the numbers in Dover or Wilmington recently on
No.
short-term rentals? Yeah, I haven't either.
Okay.
We should go on to Airbnb and see.
I see the complaints all the time filed on the state site that I belong to, the state site, only so I can see what's happening.
Right.
And a lot of them are now going full time. Obviously, they're vetting their tenants very, very closely because they've had some real problems, I guess.
Right.
Even with the STR tenants.
If I may, sir,
If you may.
with the fact that COVID's passed or gotten less, having less of an impact on the renters, the Valley saw so much real estate soaked up for the people that wanted to get away from the urban areas desperately. Now that inventory is coming back to the market rapidly.
Yeah.
And thank God COVID's waned a bit. And those people don't need to escape the urban areas any longer. But that's one of the reasons that there's so much more inventory. And for a property owner to lose that revenue, it puts the property back on the market for long-term or sale.
Yeah.
And it's happening with some depth at this point. Just sharing that.
Well, I just noticed it in the conversation.
Yeah.
That and people need an identifiable income, meaning that they need X amount of dollars per month in order to make things work for these second homes that Tom's talking about. They can't depend on the STRs any longer because it's hit or miss. And more people are adding more amenities like hot tubs and all that. I don't think it's going to work a great deal. I just mentioned that because I know the housing is still tight.
Right.
And it's also very expensive.
Yes.
What
Very
does become
expensive.
available, I mean, when I look at what they require, I saw one for $2,100, plus they wanted you to pay utilities.
Yes.
I said, no, not in this lifetime, not here in Wilmington anyway. For the common,
It's really,
worker.
really challenging. And a lot of our housing stock, was reported in the 2019 housing analysis that, it was really in poor condition. That's the other thing. But a lot of those have been either using the Vermont Housing Improvement Program and upgrading those and making them better. But we still have to work on senior housing. We haven't even touched that.
Okay.
So,
No, we just, obviously, we're aware of this. And
yeah,
anything I think is regarding housing, we would certainly want to participate in, at least I think. we would.
Yeah. Now, have you also been hearing about the committee that's come together for the state of Vermont saying they want to increase the population by 150,000 by 2035?
no, I haven't heard that.
Okay, so it was on
Wait,
public radio,
2035, and they want to increase it by what?
150,000
150,000.
In Vermont?
in Vermont. Yes.
Make it easier to build housing.
They have to build a lot of maternity wards too here, maybe 150. Come on.
I was stunned, and that's not many years, almost 11 years. from
Yeah.
now.
That's
It'd be fantastic if people came, but that's like a explosion of people coming,
Yeah,
and with no housing stock.
stop with no.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the days of people specing houses like they did in the 60s and 70s and building them and someone would buy them are gone.
Right,
But not at the current prices. My God, you can't do it.
yeah,
Well, remember, you're getting sales in areas around town. Let's just, for example, say Chimney Hill, those sales are up to 400,000, which you can't really substantiate those, not in real dollars, not in real assessments or appraisals. And then the median, what's the median price now? Over $500,000? I think.
It's very high. Very, very high.
It's challenging.
Well, I remember 5 years ago at Bytown, in fact, when Ryan Holt was residing, and he was telling us his starter home, he does log homes. His starter home, the minimum is 450,000. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it hasn't gotten any better.
Not anymore.
no.
Nothing yet, Kim.
You guys scratching your ass, I had to look it up.
You gotta come down, please.
Sorry, Tim.
So right now, the way Air DNA works is it does Wilmington, Whitingham, Halifax, Marlborough, and Dover all together. But in December 2022, which is kind of the peak of the rental season, there was 878 rentals on Airbnb or VRBO. And in 23, there was 999. So it was up about 14% year over year. So it does continue to increase every year.
December to December.
December to December.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's even, in 21, it was 735. So over 250 increase in a 2-year period.
The only thing, anecdotally though, we are hearing that some people are getting out. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
and
know
so
what
we'll
that
have to
means
look
either.
at December this year
Right.
and, see how it goes.
Yeah.
But right now, the trend that we're seeing is continuing.
Don't make any mistake about it. We need the rooms though. Okay,
Absolutely.
this here serves a big purpose with that. And it's,
There's a balance, right?
There is
yeah,
balance.
it sure is.
Sorry, I had to butt in.
Thank
you.
I love my data.
Tim, we'll ask you to interrupt a little bit later. How's that? All right. All right. Hey, so would anybody else like to make a comment? Or would you
Yeah,
like
just,
to-
there's a website?
Yes, Deerfield Valley Housing.
Okay. Never seen it.
Sorry, I should have.
Who runs the website?
I'm Eric DeRocher,
He does, okay.
Dover.
We trust Eric.
And we, and people can go on, there's an ability for them to go on and update, like
Okay.
put in available rentals and things like that, so.
Right.
Did you find it?
No, I'm not, I just wrote it down.
Okay.
I was just wondering.
And we have a lot of resources on there from, state, regional, for landlords and for renters. So, and then we upload our minutes from the meeting or recordings from the meeting.
I don't know, there's still a lot of demand out there for long-term rentals.
There is
I mean, I think I've had,
affordable.
Oh, yeah,
well,
that's
no,
the case.
just looking for a place. I mean, I've had like 3 people contact me in the last week
Yeah.
looking for an apartment. And it's like, I'm full. There's nothing I can do.
You could
Yeah.
build, John, you could build.
I could build.
I gotta be.
Yeah.
But of course, the key to this, by the way, the landlord support group, which I have never seen. I know there was a loose group here years ago
There was,
that used to check them, but they really need help.
they do.
They need some help. They
Because
need
there's
some
so many
advice.
different levels to that, and, yeah, like, there was one new guy that downtown here, he was like, I'm gonna, this is my first time, I'm gonna change it from retail, and I'm gonna put another apartment in there, and I've got an apartment upstairs. And then, I'm like, what's going on over there? And he's like, yeah, I didn't check reference it.
Well,
And yeah, he had.
everybody's got a better idea.
eviction.
You know that, okay?
And, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, they need assistance, they need guidance, and, with.
Well, they need some
Often-
support of each other. They certainly should be able to know that if they throw a evict tenant,
Mhm.
that tenant doesn't go to the next 10 people and do the same thing to
Right.
them.
And so getting it together and communicating and, like having, guest speakers of, like 15 minutes of just kind of some information from,
Right.
realtors and attorneys and, those kind of things.
Have you had a lot of participation by landlords?
No, because we're just starting to
Okay,
get that up, but
okay.
we've created the list and, we'll put some.
All right, I
advertising
know
money
that's
towards it.
good. I think this is a great idea.
So, I look right around where I live, and there's a number of just empty houses. One's for sale, but it's, on Sparrow Court, but is in
Yeah.
horrible shape. And, then there's a place probably right over the Marlboro border that's right on Route 9 that's been empty for a decade. And you can just see these houses throughout the valley that no one's living in and no one's lived in for a while. And has the committee looked into that? Is that an issue of the things in foreclosure and the bank won't sell it, or?
The one right there on the lane, there's that was a fire in there.
Well,
And they just put.
So we do have a list that we go of vacant properties that would be good for housing. We like to see them on the move or, stops and things like that. But yeah, we've also talked a lot about, like having a housing trust. That's a heavy lift. That's a big lift.
because Windsor and Wyndham Housing Trust won't do anything here, right?
They're too busy in Brattleboro.
They don't-
And they've got a lot of problems in Brattleboro, whatever, too. They're having some issues with their
Yeah.
tenants, so.
But yeah, so that's something else that we should really be looking into as well.
And Windsor don't have like a pilot in terms of partnering and rehabbing any of these homes. They're not doing anything like that, right?
Yeah. Wait, they do.
Any opportunity there?
From my understanding, they work privately and they work one-on-one with the property owner. They gotta have a buyer.
They have a whole different set of circumstances that
Right.
they present.
Yeah, they're one house at a time,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
and they have to find somebody that qualifies for the house. That was the other problem they were having.
weren't there a couple of properties in town that they did?
They did one up by the Haystack Country Club
Yeah, years ago.
years ago. I think the lady from
They
the
did one in
bookstore.
Twin Brook, did they? Up in the old haystack? No?
Yeah.
I thought they did. Did they do one in Twin Brook?
So I'm just looking at the, what's it called? The Housing Analysis Master Plan,
Yeah,
and it says the cost of septic is prohibitively expensive, especially in Wilmington. And I don't get the especially in Wilmington. I mean, if you're putting in septic, whether it's in Dover, Wardsboro, or Wilmington, why would it be more expensive here?
yeah, actually, it's more expensive in Dover than
Oh.
it is in Wilmington.
Okay, I was
So
just,
I wonder if it was a typo. I didn't bring mine with me.
no, that's all
but
right.
I'll look at that.
And it's wondering, I mean, we have sewer and water in town, whereas Dover doesn't. I mean,
They have sewer.
Yeah, they have sewer.
well, they have their districts.
Do you have it right there? Do you know what page that's on?
I'll find it and tell you.
Okay.
Because I had to go back to the beginning and tell you what the document was.
Yeah, it's okay. I can look through it.
No, I was just wondering.
The thing that's interesting though here is that we do have a bunch of buildings that could house people, that people choose not to rehab.
Right next door.
Hold hostage.
How many families do you think we could get to move in a cast and kiln kitchen?
Oh, excuse me. Where are they gonna park? Sorry.
Stop at the
They're
parking.
gonna-
That's the
they're gonna
second
ta-
parking
They're
thing
gonna take the
I've heard.
bus, okay?
Perfect.
Where do the people in Brattleboro in those apartments all in the top? Where do
They don't
they
have
park?
cars. They don't have cars.
Right, and a lot of people down around here don't have cars either. They have bikes or whatever.
Much more metropolitan.
Yes.
Need a motion.
Yes, let's have a motion, folks.
I move to approve a 1% request from the Bytown Housing Committee for housing support in the Deerfield Valley in the amount of $5,000.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to second to approve 1% request from Bytown Housing Committee to support them in the amount of $5,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
All right, Scott.
We'd like to talk about the ARPA fund, and Christine's going to come down and help me. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview. The select board to possibly approve Vermont League of Cities and Towns recommendation to transfer remaining ARPA funding to the general fund. So a basic overview is that the president signed into law the American Rescue Plan, ARPA as we know it, on March 2021. And then the ARPA created the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, SLFRF, providing funding to the state, local, and tribal governments. And the idea was to support the response to and recovery from the COVID-19 public health emergency. You may remember on June the 15th, 2021, you appointed me as your authorized representative to request ARPA funding and certify that the community will follow U.S. Department of Treasury rules. At the same time, it was recommended that in our general ledger, because the ARPA money is a specific revenue source, has restrictions on its use, it should be considered a special revenue fund, and that ledger fund was set up by the finance office, by Christine. The ARPA money was deposited in the town's operating account by ACH in or around 2022. In the original, following the original guidance that purposed in creating this fund. In February of 22, select board minutes show a discussion that the Route 9 East Sewer and Water Expansion Project is on a priority list at the state level. And Northern Borders was giving Gretchen, our economic consultant, positive feedback as a good project for their grant as well. In April of 2022, select board made a one-time, that was on April the 19th, 2022, the select board made a one-time irrevocable decision to elect the standard allowance approach for our ARPA award in the amount of $536,895.96 to spend on the provision of government services. And that also was a recommendation since that was allowable because the town and others across the nation received less than $10 million. On August 16th, 2022, select board approved $139,000 in ARPA funds to be allocated for final engineering, and that is the design for Route 9 water and sewer expansion. In May 16th of 2023, the select board approved $10,000 in ARPA funds to be allocated to DV fiber. On July 11th, 2023, the town accepted and signed a grant agreement for the Community Recovery and Revitalization Program grant in the amount of $753,510, and that's through Gretchen's hard work. On August the 15th, 2023, the town accepted and signed the grant on the Northern Border Regional Commission. And that agreement was signed in October 30th of 23, and that was for $1 million. And that again was for the Route 9 expansion project. On March 5th, 2024, the town clerk certified the votes. And in Article 2, shall general obligation bonds of the town of Wilmington be issued in an amount not to exceed 3.1 million for the purpose of making certain infrastructure improvement, namely extending water and sewer infrastructure along Route 9 East with new construction, and then explain not to exceed at a total cost of 5.1 million. The yeses was 215, the noes 172, so it did pass, as we know. The idea of obligating the remaining ARPA funds, essentially under a quick reference guide that the federal government gives out, the term obligation continues to mean an order placed for property and services and entry into contracts, subawards, and similar transactions that require payment. What that basically means is that we are not in a position to sign a construction contract prior to the end of the year. And that's when the obligation has to take place. Tonight on your agenda at your regular meeting, under item number 5, the select board to possibly approve the LCT recommendation to transfer remaining ARPA funding to the general fund, and a resolution, if authorized by the select board, upon a motion to approve the resolution to expend SLFRF funds in an amount up to $411,451.40 for the purpose of municipal workforce retention to pay for payroll expenses for the period of January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. Upon possible passage of the resolution, the treasurer and finance officer will make a journal entry to transfer the remaining ARPA funds to the general fund from which payroll expenses are paid. And we have sample language that indicates how we did it and why we did it. Taking this approach will free up general fund revenue that would have otherwise paid for the municipal operating expenses identified in the resolution. Using one-time unanticipated revenue from ARPA will create a fund balance in the general fund. The federal character of the money will no longer exist, so there would be no timelines or regulations. We have held discussions, more than one, with Vermont League of Cities and Towns and with our auditors on this recommended pathway. In addition, Gretchen will be submitting an application to the USDA sometime between October and December of 2024. And this is the general recommendation, and we're told that it's being done nationally in an effort to then create the same amount of cash that you've already indicated where you want it to go. So this is not something new. This is something that you have said that you want applied to the project of the Route 9. And then I think Christine can answer any questions because she's talked directly with our auditors on it.
What's the federal procedure that they're going to use to audit all of these expenses? You know, any idea?
I mean, usually it's the state that comes in to do audits on federal funding.
They do, okay.
Yeah, and we do, or I work with everybody who has grants on an annual basis to do what they call a sub-recipient annual report to the state of Vermont of how much funding we have spent in a given fiscal year that is federal money. So this is money that would be part of that, and I think they use that as another form of auditing. So,
okay.
I mean, we haven't.
Well, that's,
haven't had
you know,
state audit in many years, but there's usually like I think it's a 3 years since from the closeout of a grant where they can come in and do an audit.
Okay. That always concerns me, I think, that's all.
Many towns are doing this though.
Yeah, I understand that, but that doesn't mean many
Well,
towns
well,
can be.
well, wait a
indicted
minute.
too, so.
When we say many towns are doing it, what are many towns doing?
They are, so
Transferring the funds.
the vote that you already did last year, I don't remember what date it is on Scott's thing there, but you did a vote that this funding, this ARPA funding was being accepted basically to offset the costs due to COVID, like payroll costs and that kind of stuff. So we've already kind of made that.
Standard allowance.
The standard allowance, right, that was the term that they used, was that it was a standard allowance, which meant that you could then use it for anything anyway. The problem is, from what I understand from Katie Buckley from VLCT, is that there's a lot of concern that if you don't have your funds obligated in that you have a written contract with somebody that's going to be doing work for you and you still have them called ARPA funds, there is a chance that they will just be taken back by the federal government. So the information that has been passed down from the federal government to the through the programs that Katie Buckley's been going to is that they should be moved into a fund that is more like a general fund rather than staying in a fund that's called ARPA funds.
I get that part.
So I've talked to the auditors. The auditors are of the same mind. They completely agree with this. They actually feel that our funds, because we do have the bond vote, are actually already committed funds. So they wouldn't really be considered surplus funds, but putting them through the general fund to offset payroll expenses last fiscal year, they feel is the right way to go. And it would be, when they do our audit for fiscal year 24, they will list those funds as committed for that Route 9 project.
The additional funding that would
Right,
have
so
normally.
they- Right, so they wouldn't be listed as uncommitted, which would be open for, you know, having to go to the voters again and have them vote what to do with those funds.
Right. VLCT has worked on this for a while, I take it.
Yeah, and Katie Buckley was assigned to the ARPA program when it first started and has been there just kind of deciphering all the information that has come from the federal government. And it's changed, like every,
Yeah, I'm sure it
there's
has.
been, you know, multiple. Originally, it was gonna be money had to be used specifically for these 5 things. One of them was sewer and wastewater.
Right.
Improvements or expansions. So we're already planning to do it for that type of a project, but we haven't got it obligated yet. The original thought was that once we had the bond, that we would be all set with that bond vote, but they feel that we're not totally obligated yet based upon the definition.
We haven't committed, that's what they were.
We haven't gone out to bid, we don't
Okay.
have a contract, yeah, so it leaves those funds still kind of open to be taken back.
All right.
They're not obligated by the end of this year, so by obligating them as saying that they were to cover payroll expenses, that takes them out of the ARPA category altogether, and once we do this, they're not referred to as ARPA ever again. They would now be considered a surplus or just general fund revenues.
Committed to the project.
All right.
Do you want a motion?
I still have questions.
Okay.
So we're taking approximately $411,000 from ARPA and moving it into the general fund.
Correct.
So then we'll have $411,000 that is currently in the general fund. And where's it gonna go?
So, and like I said, that's part of this, is that these funds are in the auditor's words, when I talked to Fred Duplessis yesterday, he said that these funds would be considered committed. My understanding is that they would be put into our Route 9 West expansion fund, which is where we put the original 139,000 that you guys voted to spend on that project
So we,
already.
but we have a fund for that, right?
We have a fund that we have created, yeah.
So shouldn't we be moving the $411,000 into the fund?
Yeah, no. Because because of the fact that we don't have a contract, we have no way to spend that money yet. So it's not gonna be obligated. You could move it in there, but it would not have any form of obligation necessarily. That's
So once we
what
had a
I
contract, will
understand.
we then move it into the obligated part? Is that what we do?
No, we're waiting, so it's a step by step. So first, the journal entry, remember, the journal entry is going to be into payroll.
Right, this is the way
this
that they are
period of
doing
time.
it is, and that was one of the ways that they said you could use your ARPA funds was to offset your payroll because you were taking it as the one-time,
Standard
Yeah.
allowance.
yeah, standard allowance, which was to offset any expenditures for COVID, for COVID, whether it was paying staff to stay on or helping to pay for insurance because your revenues were low or whatever. We were fortunate, we're not a town that relies on, like recreation funds or whatever. Ours is pretty much all tax-based, so it's different. But this is the process, and the way that I understand it is that we would be moving it from ARPA to cover our payroll for last year into the general fund. It would then become surplus funds, but they're committed surplus funds, and I believe that
Okay, if they're committed, how are we accounting for them then? Are they gonna be accounted for separately?
yes. The
How?
way that I understand it is the auditors, when they're here, will be looking at those funds as committed. So when they do their audit report that they do, they will have them listed as committed funds. And as part of that, my understanding is that they will have us move those funds also into the Route 9 expansion. So it's kind of like a long way around, but once you put them in your general fund, it basically, you have obligated them, they are used, they are no longer ARPA funds, and then you can do whatever you want with them.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, is you can do whatever you want with it.
But the thing is that the town has already committed these funds through all of our designations between, looking at the grants, wanting to do the Route 9 expansion project, having the vote with the voters where they said, yes, we want you to do it.
Right.
It's part of that 5.1 million.
And
that
previous
we-
select board action.
Right,
So you've already showed an intent, that this is the way you're gonna use it. It doesn't match up with anything we're used to doing. You're right about that, John. But this is the recommendation in order to basically move out of ARPA and into our general fund.
No, I understand that part.
Yep.
The part I am having trouble with is that we will have approximately $411,000 that was going to be from the general fund, and now it's being replaced by the ARPA money. And how are we accounting for that so it doesn't just get spent on whatever somebody wants spent?
Through your action, go
so
ahead.
any surplus funding, first of all, has to go through the voters. It can't just be spent on anything. It has to go through the voters. That's number one. Number two, in this particular case, the way that the auditors are looking at it is that it is already committed to the Route 9 expansion project. So that's why it wouldn't necessarily have to go back to the voters. It's been committed by the voters and by the select board in all of their previous actions on that money.
So through your discussion tonight and the action on the resolution.
So, okay, but if the voters decided to spend it on a creamy stand, they could.
The auditors is suggest-
So that was one of the concerns, that with it being moved to the general fund, that it would create a surplus that would then have to go back to the voters. Because of the fact that we have already, the voters and the select board have already made this commitment for this money, it doesn't have to go back to the voters fund. It'll be just moved to the Route 9 expansion fund, but it has to go through the general fund first, is the way that I understand it from having talked to Fred Plessy and Rick Brinkman. at
And it'll
Sullivan
be treated in
Towers.
this audit as a committed
Okay.
funding.
Yeah, I'd make one request. I would like that memorialized.
Memorialized.
Yeah, in a memo.
I mean,
to the select board.
that's what the resolution is, and there is wording.
I just want documentation. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to. So
Okay.
we're formulating a file for this, and this is part of the file, is the minutes will reflect the discussion. And the intent of the select board has been consistent, including, I'm anticipating
Well,
voting tonight.
I'm just concerned these are federal dollars and
Yeah, but remember they were. I understand what you're saying, because I have that same, I've been dealing with this since last fall, because I didn't quite understand where we were going until we get to this point where we can't obligate with a contract or an agreement. This is
The folder that we have for ARPA is gonna have the resolution, it's gonna have all of the information on what our process has been. It's gonna have a copy of our trial balance, that these are the lines that we were working with, so it's.
no, I get that. But the resolution doesn't talk about where the $400,000 from the general fund is.
It does not
committed
talk
to.
about where that part is. gonna
And that's what I want documented.
And that's the conversation that I had with Fred about it being committed funds. So that would be
No,
something
I
that I could-
totally understand what you're saying. I just want it documented.
I will definitely make sure that we have something in writing for you to see.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I got a question. Well, you're breathing over there. So, we haven't figured out as yet the total expense of this expansion project. Is that correct?
I believe the initial estimate was the 5.1 million. We haven't
Okay.
gone out to
So this
bid,
will
so
reduce our borrowing by that much money?
The bond vote request to the public was taking into account the 2 grants and the ARPA funds
That's
already.
what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
I wanted it
So
all out
the-
there.
Yeah, so the total budget was 5.1 million, but the amount we asked for was
Smaller.
3.1
Right,
million,
because
we
this-
had
this and
accounted
the
for all
other-
those pieces of
Right.
it.
I think that's a good
No, I just
If I
answer.
had a lesser dollar amount, I was, yes,
Well, isn't it already?
I think that we had in the ARPA fund
because-
that we were spending this 3.
Well,
Okay, right.
so we'll be able to account for it.
Yes, everything will be covered.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's the purpose of the fund.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going along. The direction, you can see the intent and the direction.
Yeah.
Each side of the
And it's
way.
no longer a
It's
risk,
really just-
right? That's the deal.
that's the-
Right, part of
Yeah.
it is to make sure that the federal government doesn't
Doesn't take it back.
take it back, and like I said, Scott and my concern with having it put in as surplus to the general fund is that usually it would go back to the voters, but when I talked with Fred yesterday, he specifically said that based upon what we have, I explained to him the votes and everything, and he said then the auditors would consider it as funds already for that project. So it wouldn't be considered only.
Can I ask another technical question? I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. So the bond money that you're talking about for this project, it hasn't been allotted yet. It's just,
We haven't applied to either the USD or the bond bank. for
if
it.
we had the bond money, this would simply be added to it. Would that be correct?
It would be.
It would be in an account somewhere for the
Correct,
expansion.
Yes. I mean, the way that the bond bank works is they don't give you all the money anyway. They
Right.
kind of hang
But whatever
on
they
to
gave
it,
us,
but, yeah,
It would all be commingled with the same directions.
correct, to pay all of the expenditures as the project moves forward.
But you're also looking alternatively
At the USDA.
at the USDA.
Right. Yeah, which, last time we worked with the USDA, we ended up doing a line of credit first. well, it was People's Bank at the time. And we paid out of the line of credit, and then we just took the loan out with the USDA when it was finished. And I believe that's the way the USDA prefers to do it. So if we end up going that route, that's the way we would do it this time.
Any more folks? Someone like to make a motion?
You have a suggested one in front of you?
And I just wanted to think, you said that we want.
This?
Yeah.
This.
Vote was that the bond for the USDA loan would be for 3.1 billion.
Yeah.
That was our nation. Yes.
Okay.
And the two-
Total of 5.1.
And the grants that we have, how long do they last for? Like the Northern Forest?
One is in December and another one is in
September.
September.
We don't have to have the project done, we just have to have a contract and.
But we can requisition funds as we go. And that's our intention is to spend down the grant funds first. We're gonna spend down part of the funds. In order to have to be spent by the end of.
No, actually 2026.
Yeah, 26.
But anyway, so we have a couple of deadlines with the grants with 2026 also.
I'm happy to make a motion, which is basically the last.
So
full
let me
paragraph.
make the motion.
You go.
Okay, it's written down, Tony.
I was going with this, right there.
It's suggested, yes.
Similar.
I move to approve the resolution to expend the SLFRF funds in the amount of up to $411,451.40, of course, for the purpose of municipal workforce retention, to pay for payroll expenses for the period of January 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2024. All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. Next up under other business is the highway superintendent. The select board to possibly approve an expenditure increase to Reed Trucking from $105,853.94 to $134,986.32 from the highway equipment capital. Thank you for the highway truck rebuild.
Thank you.
And Marshall will walk you through
Well, thank you.
all of that.
Here's where you sign.
Thanks, Marshall. So originally we had an estimate for 105. We had some things that were unforeseen. We had some things that we missed on the original estimate. So it went over. The people did contact me during the repairs, and I will take some blame that I maybe didn't add all this stuff up or ask enough questions. There was a couple of the bigger ones they told me about. And I kind of expected to be a change because it's with something this big of a job, you can't see everything until they get into the project. Talking to them, they spent a lot of time on the phone with me after they got the bill done. And they come out, as you can see in the bottom of this little note. So the owner of the company sent me this little note to help me out with what it was. Scott Reed. Spent a lot of time on the phone. His original bill, if we just sent the bill, was $157,000. Between discounting, finding a few errors in the bill as far as they double billed some of the stuff. They didn't take it out of the quote and then they added it on the bill. Getting some parts discounted, discounting some labor. They
we're able to get down to 34,986. I can try to explain some of this stuff. If you have questions, I can answer questions. Some of the conversation we had lately with Mr. Reed was a brand new town truck that he just sold Cavendish was $297,000. So this is less than half the price of a brand new truck. I'm feeling and have all the confidence that when we received this truck back from them, and we've had it back now for a little over a month. Took them a long time to get any kind of bill to us. That it will last us the 8 to 10 years that we run a brand new truck. When we receive a brand new truck, a lot of times in the first month of running it, we have a lot of unforeseen issues. People didn't tighten fittings, just little bugs that have to be worked out. They are fixed, but it's usually when you need the truck the most. This truck we've had back for over a month. We have had no issues. Everything works perfectly. I brought the truck tonight. I know it's a little dark. It's a little later than I guess we thought we were going to be here, but you're more than welcome to look at it outside tonight. It looks like a brand new truck. If you want to come during the daylight, I'll be more than glad to show you the truck. Again, it looks and come out very nice. It drives very nice. Everything works the way it should. It had some few safety upgrades done to it while it was there for things like backup camera. It had a backup camera. They found corrosion in the backup camera wire, but at the same time they ended up replacing the whole camera system because we added a camera into the back body so the guys aren't climbing up over the body in the middle of the winter, in the middle of the night to figure out what's going on. Now there's a TV screen. It's about this big on the dash. It's mounted, turn it on. It lights up the inside of the body. And also anytime you put it in reverse, it automatically, just like your car, goes to the back of your screen for safety purposes. They end up replacing all the lighting on the truck because of corrosion in the wires. They kind of knew there was going to be some, but they ended up replacing every bit of it. There wasn't anything. It was just easy to start over. They did give us back any of the old lights that had any light left to them. So if something gets broke on one of our other trucks or this truck, that we can reinstall it in the middle of the winter and put it back on if we need to. So I probably should do a little better of letting somebody know that the price wasn't going to be exactly what it was, but we do have the money in our account for a truck because we planned on a new truck and we decided to go to this route to see how it works.
This is your first foray into rebuild. So
yeah, it's the first rebuild. The town's done a rebody before. This is the first time they've ever done a whole redone of the whole truck. And this ain't just the body. They did the whole suspension, chassis, brakes. Everything's been gone through. Again, we get a lot of comments on how nice it looks for being a truck that's 10 years old. It's not 10 years old. It's like a brand new truck. People think it's brand new.
All right.
So that's where I'm at. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Yes.
So it's basically, you said 8 years, it's almost $4,000 a year in additional charges from the 105 to 135, basically, right?
You used your calculator.
I did. Yeah, I'm not that sharp. And rather than looking at the truck in the dark, would it be reasonable for, like, I'll drive it home tonight and then pass the keys on to somebody else, and
So-
we'll all get familiar with it.
The only thing I'll tell you is this has, it's got a built-in security system.
Yeah.
It has a shifter in the middle of the truck, and there's not a lot of people that can drive it.
Was it good? A double clutch? Or?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
you have your
There
CDL.
ain't a lot of people.
Oh, you need a CDL to drive
Yeah,
it?
CDL.
Expired.
Well, you're gonna be in a little trouble now.
All righty then, I'll let it go.
If you can elude Matt, you'll be good to go, but the truck don't go that
That's
fast.
not
You
that
can
fast.
try.
Any serious questions? None being had, would somebody like to make a motion?
I move to approve an expenditure increase to retrucking from $105,853,294 to $134,986.32 for the highway equipment capital for the
All right,
highway
yes.
truck rebuild.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second to increase the expenditure to Reed Trucking from $105,853.94 to $134,986.32. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Marshall.
Select board comments. Tony?
The original people here this afternoon when we started and the sun was still up. You know, I don't like it. I'm not gonna make any bones about it. I don't like it being, you know, dealt with like that. But it does bring up the concern of if there are or were any applications that were missed that may have become permits because of the failure to keep the timeline in mind. Am I making sense? And I don't know
Only
if
only if the checks were cashed.
okay.
Okay, but then again, you know, here's the thing. We've got to find out what the ruling is on that, which is all well and fine. And if that's the case, that's all he had to bring in the last time, okay? So if that's the way it's going to prove it, and Mr. Tuller did not keep good, and again,
I'm with you on all
that
this.
time was all the same frame when he left,
I'm
okay?
only concerned if there are other.
Well, we'll have to take them
out
as
there.
they come.
This
Okay.
is the only
Right.
one. This is the only one, and keep in mind, we've asked him to cooperate with the zoning office.
Yeah.
And he has not
He's not
complied with
willing, he's
anyone.
not willing to do that.
So.
Very well. That was my
And-
point.
And the fact that he wouldn't even let us have a copy of the check, because we haven't seen that.
Yeah, and remember, any permit goes with the land, so we're actually working with the landowner on this.
Yeah, not him at all. It's the guy who owns North Country.
Yeah.
We would have preferred to have
The
this
applicant.
resolved in the office, but
Yeah. That's fine. Thank you. That was my question. That was my comment.
No, it will get resolved.
I know.
All right.
They all do. One way or the other.
What's that? Orson Welles used to say it?
Who?
Orson Welles.
Way before my time.
No. On his head. Remember, we will sell the wine before it's time.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing here. We'll resolve no zoning issues until it's time. So, anyway, okay. I'm sorry, Vincent. John.
I do have a comment. The Board of Civil Authority had its first meeting on Friday, the 13th. And so for folks to know, we have, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Therese, we have 48 appeals. Though we did get rid of some on Friday, but we do have a lot of appeals. Right now, based on the people who showed up to the first meeting, we only have one inspection team, which means that inspection team will be going to all of the
48.
appeal properties. That's a lot of work for the people that are doing it. We need more assistance so that we can at least field 2 inspection teams. If we have 2 inspection teams, that means the workload for any individual will be reduced in half. And so it's really important that we have participation by the select board in the Board of Civil Authority.
Hey, Teresa, since you're here, what kind of response did we get for people filing for justice of the peace? Just numbers, not people. I don't need to know the names. Just
I have 3 new.
3 new.
3 new
Excellent.
candidates, and only 1 candidate that's not renewed.
And let me add, really, all you need to do is show up for inspections. I will write the reports. Tom can write the reports.
Hey.
No, but I know you know how to do it.
I know the
mean,
reports, yes.
It's really just showing up.
In fact, there's a number of the houses that are going to be filing that I've written reports on multiple times already. So I want, oh, geez, what are you gonna do here, right? Well, I didn't redo it. You know that, right? Philippe moved to Bennington, and he didn't even let us know he was going. I asked him for his green card twice, and he still wouldn't get. No, I'm kidding. He just, they had a different set of circumstances. And they had to move.
We're slightly ahead.
Okay, all right. I know, it's hard. I had a couple of that I thought were going to do it. I had one gentleman, he sent me an email here a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Moore, and he said that he never did get to it. I sent him, no, I gave him the petition thing and the whole bit. In fact, I told him I'd take it around for him. And he just, he's an attorney, he's very busy, and I understand that.
I instructed that he could do a write-in campaign and let him know how many signatures or how many votes he would need in a write-in campaign. And I also said that post the election, we could appeal to the government or governor for an appointment.
That would be a great thing to do. That would be the easiest for
We
him. I
also
think.
need the parties to, I have, in my time so far, I've never gotten a nomination from either the Republican or Democrat.
No. Everybody likes to go independent on that. So they can avoid the caucuses and they think, and they got all the other stuff you have to go through. You know, there are certain people that like that, you know, but there are others that, John likes that stuff. Okay.
What?
All right. I'm sorry. Hey, no, but John's right. It's a tough road to have 40 something in one inspection team. That's really difficult. Especially when we are already looking at houses that we're right on the old footprint, but they were before.
Moving right along.
Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sarah.
To that, I would say you all know that I am in the process of buying my house and it's October closing. And I had to leave the board.
You seem really broken up.
I am actually very sad, and I have a sort of not a catch-22, but I don't really want to leave the board until I know my house sells, because if it doesn't sell for some reason, I haven't gotten the check yet, I do want to remain on the board. Could be many months. But I guess I don't want to leave you guys in a lurch of not having someone in the seat. So should we advertise that there's a possible seat available to see if we can get names of people who are interested in
Start the process.
interview, or like start the process? Because I don't want to just be like, see you guys later. How are you guys feeling on that?
You should just stay.
Yeah, how much is the house, you know? We've got a surplus from what I heard earlier.
It's a surplus. How are people feeling? I
Well,
mean, maybe people
I-
are feeling they want me to leave now. I don't.
Well, you know, if you left last week, it would have been good. But the thing we were having, John just mentioned it. We still need help on the BCA, which is really important.
Which
Otherwise,
I'm happy to help.
but when the closing comes, we're gonna have to obviously move on from that point.
So do you want to advertise now?
I don't know, Chuck, can we do that? Can we get away from that? Look at putting some
Sure, why
people in
not?
the pipeline?
I mean, it's up to you. We can
What do you think,
advertise it in
John?
such
You
a
know?
way that there's a potential opening, and we're trying to assess the interest, and if you're interested, send,
All right.
one page, what did we do last time, Tony? We asked for.
I heard there was there was a seat empty and somehow I heard about it.
I think you sent in a letter of
Yeah,
interest.
probably.
Yeah. So we could just do a letter of interest and say, we know that we're gonna lose a seat at some point in the future. Who's interested, who wants to come in and talk with the select board? We could do that. Let's see why not.
And I didn't get back to your husband. We have a resolution that for his position at town meeting. And it's all been simplified by our attorneys. I'll send it to him, I just want to make sure that they'll at least do it 1 year, I don't really know who we would ask to do that job.
That'd be a hard job.
Whoa. The Frank Spencers and the Wayne Rowells and the Pete Bartons are all gone now. We don't have any of these guys anymore. So
There's probably someone. Maybe Dave Larson. That'd be a good
I
idea.
can't see that far, can you?
I can see that far.
Dave, if we could get him in.
Vincent LaGuardia. Gambini. I'll pass it down.
I'll work, if everyone's in agreement, I'll work with Sarah on putting something together.
It's gonna be exciting on the other side.
Or you
of
could just
that,
rent an apartment and.
huh? It's gotta be-
Where am I gonna
Well, I don't know.
apartment? There are no apartments to rent.
She could couch serve.
I'll make one. I'll have one by tomorrow morning.
Bring out a ground
Downstairs?
floor.
Accelerate.
Okay, all right.
Accessory.
No.
Okay, we do have someone waiting, so.
What do we have
Oh.
waiting?
All right.
Your
Oh, Dawn, Dawn, I forgot about Dawn. Jeez, I forgot about Dawn. Okay, all right, so,
You good?
I'm good. I'm all done.
The only thing I want to say is that there was a we have a document for recording now from A&R. So there's a notice of issuance of wetland individual permit project number 4. Tutu Abyssal Trail upgrade. We have a permit.
We already got the permit?
We got it recently. I just
Wow.
sent it to Johnny. Yep. And you have.
Where's Rebecca Chalmers these days? You running?
And you have, and I sent you something on the dam. I'm not going to go into it. We can talk about that later. If you'd like to make a motion, go into executive session.
Okay, all right. Let me do that. Marshall, we have to ask you to go home. Okay?
Or just leave. You don't have to go home. You just can't stay here.
Bye.
Hey, good night, Marshall. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, make a motion. We enter into executive session at 7:42 PM to include Donald Campbell and the town manager to discuss a potential real estate purchase
Thank you.
under 1 VSA 313A2.
Second.
All right, you have a second? All those in
Second.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in executive session, folks.